Imagine a city longer than 25 Manhattans, with no roads and no traffic. Most believed it could never be built, but in the Saudi desert, it's already rising. In the northwest corner of Saudi Arabia lies a stretch of empty desert, vast, silent, untouched for millennia. Here, the kingdom declared it would build something that had never existed anywhere on Earth, a city 170 kilometers long, a single unbroken line. For a century, cities expanded the same way, spreading outward, consuming farmland and nature. Then, Saudi Arabia's leaders asked a radical question. What if a city didn't have to sprawl at all? What if it could be a single line, just 200 meters wide, preserving 95% of the land around it untouched? Before a single foundation could be poured, engineers had to understand this land completely, its rock, its fault lines, and its ancient volcanic history. Building a 500-meter-tall structure in the desert meant confronting geological forces few structures on Earth had ever faced. A structure this radical demanded a radical promise, that 95% of the land would remain untouched. Before construction could begin, biologists and ecologists spent months cataloging every species, every habitat, every fragile thread of life this desert had quietly protected for thousands of years. The line was designed to run on 100% renewable energy. But first, engineers had to prove the desert could generate enough sun, wind, and heat to power a city this massive. After years of study, the vision emerged. A single mirrored structure, 500 meters tall and 170 kilometers long, built for 9 million people. With the design finalized, construction began. Engineers carved a perfectly straight 180-kilometer corridor through the desert, the largest linear earthworks project ever attempted. Every structure needs a foundation, but nothing like this. Engineers had to support a 500-meter wall of steel and glass across desert sand and solid rock. As foundations rose, factories built the city's mirrored panels and steel modules piece by piece to create one seamless reflection of the sky. At its western end, the line extended into the Red Sea. There, engineers and divers faced a new challenge, anchoring this massive structure to the ocean floor. With the foundations ready and modules built, giant convoys hauled massive sections across the desert, each one a piece of a 170-kilometer puzzle. Then came the moment engineers had waited for. The first giant steel and glass module was lifted into place, and for the first time, the line stood against the desert sky. One module became two became dozens. Soon, crews were assembling sections across the corridor, connecting them into one unbroken structure stretching toward the horizon. A mirrored city in the desert faced one challenge: heat. Engineers had to create a reflective facade that wouldn't turn the city into an oven. Months of work led to a major milestone. The first kilometer of the line stood complete, proving the impossible could become reality. From the outside, the line was a mirror. Inside, engineers created lush vertical gardens, bringing nature into a structure that seemed to have none.
At 500 meters, the line faced powerful high-altitude winds. Before building higher, engineers had to prove it could withstand. It had to withstand the full force of the sky.
When the winds settled, the tallest section stood unshaken. The tests confirmed the design worked, and construction could continue higher. Month by month, the structure grew. When it reached 10 continuous kilometers, the line no longer looked like a construction site, it looked like a real skyline.
A 170-kilometer city couldn't rely on cars. Instead, engineers built a high-speed transit system inside the structure, carrying passengers end-to-end.
At the 25-kilometer mark, the line faced its next challenge. Staying perfectly straight meant cutting directly through mountains millions of years old. At the western end, where the line reached the coast, engineers faced one final challenge, anchoring its last section to the Red Sea seabed. As the structure grew, engineers transformed its steel and glass modules into homes, schools, parks, and public spaces, all within walking distance. 50 kilometers, nearly a third of the total length, now stood complete. What began as a single module had become a continuous skyline stretching farther than most cities. Behind every kilometer of mirrored glass stood an invisible army, hundreds of thousands of workers and engineers the world, united by one extraordinary mission. 100 kilometers, more than half the total length, now complete. What was once dismissed as fantasy had become an undeniable reality, visible from space. With 100 kilometers complete, construction crews pushed into the final, most demanding stretch, a race toward the dramatic coastal finish.
After years of construction, only one final gap remained. The last module would complete the 170-kilometer span, closing humanity's most ambitious linear structure.
With every module connected, one task remained: a final facade inspection and polish, ensuring every mirrored panel reflected the sky with perfection. No structure like this had ever existed, so engineers invented entirely new tests to prove it safe. The final test would prove the promise behind the design, that anyone could travel the full 170 kilometers in under 20 minutes without ever needing a car. With the structure complete and tested, attention turned to the final, most important detail: preparing an entirely new kind of city for the people who would soon call it home. Then, for the first time, the world saw it whole. Not a rendering, not a concept, a real 170 structure of mirrored glass and steel, stretching from mountain to sea. As the sun set, the mirrored city transformed. By night, it became a glowing line of light stretching across the desert, visible for miles. With the structure complete, tested, and alive with light, one final task remained: preparing to welcome the world to witness something it had never seen before. On opening day, the world turned to this stretch of desert and sea. Dignitaries, journalists, and visitors gathered to witness a city unlike anything ever built. Rather than a traditional ribbon, this ceremony called for something different: a single symbolic switch, activating the city's systems for the very first time before the world.
In the weeks that followed, the first families arrived, not as visitors, but as residents, ready to begin life inside the world's newest city.
When the celebrations ended and the first families settled in, the numbers told their own story, a structure that didn't just redefine architecture, but rewrote the record books. News of the completed city spread worldwide. Some praised it, others questioned it. Either way, the world couldn't stop talking about it. Behind the city's beauty was a renewable energy system built to power millions of lives without fossil fuels for generations. Water was the desert's oldest challenge. Engineers turned the Red Sea into the city's lifeline through advanced desalination and recycling. Beyond housing and infrastructure, the line was designed as a global hub for research, innovation, and education, bringing the world's brightest minds together.
A city cannot survive on infrastructure alone. It needs a soul. Within the line, spaces for art, culture, and community were designed to bring people together like never before. Healthcare in the line wasn't confined to hospitals. It was built into daily life, with world-class care, wellness, and green spaces just minutes away. For a city this radical, safety couldn't be an afterthought. AI-powered monitoring and rapid emergency systems were built throughout the line to protect 9 million people.
It all began with a silent stretch of empty desert. Today, that same land is home to one of the world's most extraordinary structures and a thriving community.
Recognition followed quickly. Institutions honored the line as a great achievement, securing its place in history.
With the line complete, its lessons were already shaping the future. Engineers carried that knowledge forward, inspiring the next generation to turn the impossible into reality.
What began as a question became a 170-kilometer answer in mirrored glass and steel. The line stands as proof that the greatest achievements begin with a simple question: